We walked the community today, you and I, right? We spent some time over at Willie Henderson Sport Complex. Your family foundation is really trying to lead the renovation of that space and create an environment where the kids can come play in a sport facility that is up to the same standards that we see in communities outside of Southeast San Diego. Right? Talk to me a little bit about like the historical root causes that would lead to some of the things we saw at the park today.
My dad lived right next to the park. You know, he played at the park. His brothers and sisters played at the park, played in different sports at that park. And that park was really a pillar in a community where a lot of us, you know, black people went to hang out, you know, whether it be having some type of barbecue, sporting event, you know, stuff like that. A lot of our elders were there, so we went to go watch them play.
Right.
You know, and you know, we grew up watching them play, and then in return, once it was our turn, we went and did the same thing. But since then, this next generation don't have that because of the lack of resources we have in the area, the lack of funding that we have, that a lot of these people that make these decisions, they forgot about us, you know? And because of that, a lot of people in our neighborhood have went to other places, you know. So if they went to a neighboring neighborhood where the neighborhood is a whole lot better as far as the resources, as far as the sports complex and stuff like that, the parents just moved instead of driving back and forth. You see what I'm saying? So instead of doing all that, gas prices and stuff like that going up, they decided to move out of the neighborhood, and you know, nobody's ever really came back.
I've often said, right, that like sports, right, it can be to a degree, right, the fabric and foundation of a community. But when you don't have a space to participate, right, like what does that do to the fabric of the community?
I think it just tears it apart. I mean, sports is a really big coming in my family. I mean, sports really kept my family really grounded. It kept me focused, kept my brothers focused, and away from the negative things that we could be doing. But I mean, it was always easy to say, well, I got football practice. So when somebody who was like not doing the right thing, you know what I'm saying, say, hey, let's go. It's like, I can't, I got football practice. Like, you know, it was easy to say that because that's exactly what we do. So football was that weight that kept us grounded and kept us away from that. Now, when we don't have these types of sports complexes and stuff, there's nothing for these kids to do. We have hundreds of apartments that are surrounding that park. I mean, you see it.
I saw it.
You know what I'm saying? The kids are, and because that there's no resources at that park, the fields aren't done. There's no more teams, no more Pop Warner teams that are happening out of there because of the conditions of the park. These kids are left to go do other things. A lot of them not positive, or stuck in the house.
Spot on, man. So we talked about, and we clearly saw when we were out in the community today, like as we were walking around the complex, the need, right? Like what is being done to address some of the systemic need that we see?
Well, a lot of it, first off, comes from the community needing to stand up and let their voices be heard. You know, a lot of people are afraid. I don't want to say necessarily afraid, but they kind of sit back to wait for the help to come. When we need to stand up and force those who are responsible to make these changes that we need to make them. They have the funds to allocate this stuff, but if the community don't stand up and force them to do what they're supposed to do, their jobs, then they're just gonna sit back. You know, so a lot of stuff that's happening, and me and my family, especially my dad, have took that forefront to be that voice, to be that hammer, you know, and we've been talking to the city officials, then been talking to the heads of the departments of Park and Rec, and creating these partnerships between Park and Rec and the County of San Diego to really sit down and say, hey, look, there's a community that have been neglected for years. And this has been a long time coming. And there's been official after official that's been elected, but everything falls on deaf ears. So it just takes certain individuals, everyone pretty much, to stand up and really, again, hold these people accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you this. So, you know, you mentioned, you know, like the county, you mentioned the city, right? Are folks talking to each other?
I mean, I would say that they are talking to each other. They have been talking to each other, but I guess that relationship has died off because, in my opinion, I feel the city is like, we don't need your help. We can do it ourselves.
In relationship to the county.
Right. In relationships to the county.
Okay.
Parks and Recs of the county versus Parks and Recs of the city, because that's the city's jurisdiction. The county, because of the relationships and partnerships that I've built, are willing to back it and help the city with the different programmings. There's been different directors that has been on top of it, but no one has really been like, okay, let's make it happen, up until now. And I believe it's happening now because of the noise that is being made.
Right.
So now it's forcing these people to really sit down and have all the heads together and really be like, okay, you know what? There's been some noise being made. We got to make sure that we're on top of it and make some moves.
That's one of the things I'm really excited to work with you on with our racial equity and access in youth sport task force, right? Is collectively bring all of those people to the table, right? To identify those barriers and address them adequately, so we can start to see some of the change that you and I have been talking about. But one of the things I noticed through this work that we were doing, back in Oakland, right, is the siloed nature of our communities,
right?
Where you have one group on one side doesn't talk to one group on the other,
right?
Even if their offices are 100 yards apart, right? They're not. They're serving the same community, but they're more worried about the work that they lead as opposed to the work that collectively affects the community.
And here in San Diego, we have that bad. We especially dealing with different organization, nonprofit groups. A lot of nonprofit groups that I have came encounter with has always been, I want to be on top. I want to be the head. I want to be the main one leading this kind of stuff. That's not how we run it on our organization. We're more about family. We're more about, when you look at a lot of our organizations and the things that we have, we want others to come in. We welcome other people. Again, we're a family. If we have a family of organizations that's pushing this, and not just one organization that's pushing this, imagine the change that we can have.
Right.
If we work together as a family, I don't care what name your organization is.
Exactly.
I don't care who you are. But if we all have the same goal and we work together with that same goal, imagine it's not just a park that could be changed.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's resources, infrastructures, it's health clinics, it's all these different kind of things that could be built right here in our community that we don't have to leave our community to access. Yeah. We need it here in our community, but we have to access it outside of our community.
These issues remain intractable because organizations go it on their own, right? And not to say individual organizations can't make a difference,
right.
But what I'm saying is that if we work collectively and collaboratively together, we can shift the conditions on a grander scale to create that impact that we're talking about.
Right, and it just wouldn't start with just us having these little community meetings. You know what I'm saying? It's us walking down, knocking on the mayor's office.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And once he get that knock, we see it as just the smaller people. You know what I'm saying? The city council people. And that's who we're talking to, But when we come together huge as an organization, we go way beyond that. And we go straight to the people that's, you know what I'm saying? That's making the decision. San Diego is a mayor-ran town.
Strong mayor.
Strong mayor.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? His influence is strong around here. So if we get straight to him and have him hear what we need and stop having these people make decisions in our community that aren't even from our community.
In silos too, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we can all sit down, our community will really flourish.
Right.
You know?
I love it, man. I love it.